Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the Tapped Out Wrestling Podcast. I am Nick McDaniel, and as always, I am joined by my buddy Myron.
Well, I was going to wish you Happy Bobby Bonilla Day, which I wish you every year, but you done made me angry.
Yep.
I
got him fired up. I did not call you a hypocrite.
You did this on purpose because we was like, oh well, this show's going to be tough to do, and like all of a sudden you pulled my string right before the damn show started, and you just wound me up, and all of a sudden we got a big old fat guy madder than hell in my brand new Fantasy Lab chair. Notice that. Please endorse us, Fantasy Lab. Great chairs that suit us large men.
That's
couldn't
right.
Be happier. I like the little massage thing too. Mine turned out real nice.
Yeah, I don't even have one in the chair. Mine's in the closet. It does. Yeah, I know. But yes, folks. Before we started, I was pulling some strings and going dance, puppet dance.
Bastards, what you are. You pissed me off yesterday too. Okay. Well, might as well get into it. Now we ruined everything. Just get straight into it. Let's get this going.
All right. Well, man, look.
What was your postulation? What was your thing? You got to talking about it, Nick. What was your thing that made me so angry?
Myron, before we do that, we have to remind all of our friends and family, check us out over on YouTube, because there might be a bonus content for this topic in general right here.
This is the bonus content.
At youtube.com, Tapped Out Wrestling Podcast. Like the page, subscribe to the page, turn your notifications on, become a member. All of the new writings, the videos, all of that stuff coming out exclusive to there. Yes, I'm moving rapidly through it today because Myron's ready to get rolling. We got all kinds of stuff.
Blood pressure pills. I took my blood pressure pills before we started this, and I am glad. So I don't want to stroke out right here in the middle of the
So do you want to get into it like now and come back to the Money in the Bank?
We had a conversation. We had a conversation about people, and you directly were quoting Eric Bischoff, who you think is Jesus effing Christ. Okay, at times my ass. You would follow him to the ends of the earth, and some other guy, I can't remember who it was. It could have been Bill Apter, for all I remember. And you were talking about people who win their contracts. Apparently, there's a lot of contracts about to be up over at AEW.
Okay. All right, let me get it going here. I'll set the table. We were just having a conversation about AEW. And we will obviously have some more here. I quoted Audrey Elite Wrestling. Listen, Eric Bischoff and John Alba on Strictly Business were having a conversation, and one of the questions posed was, like, basically at the end of the year 2023, going into 2024, who would most likely be gone from AEW to WWE? Would it be the Young Bucks? Would it be Hangman Page? CM Punk? And I told you who was and MJF. And by the way, it started because of a conversation with the MJF, which we will come back to in a little bit. Here's the thing. I don't think, and I agree totally, by the way, I just don't think there's any way Tony Khan lets MJF get away. I think he's a guy they want to build long-term in that company. He could be their guy long-term. I mean, listen, as crazy as it sounds, he could be their John Cena, who we're going to discuss later, but he could be their John Cena. So
yes,
I think he'd be crazy to let him go.
Yes.
So
he would be an acquisition.
Yes.
He would be a prime draft pick. He would be somebody I think you would want to have in your company.
Yeah. CM Punk, hold on.
Page?
I want to get rid of the easy ones.
Okay.
Punk is easy. If Punk, as long as Punk doesn't go batshit crazy and and shit goes sideways, he's there long term. He's not going WWE, so he's there. Look, that's a lot of assumption.
Punk is like going to a store and say, "Sir, can I buy some cancer, please? I would like to purchase some
I don't know that. He apologized. He's trying. He's going to do the right thing. Listen, give him a benefit of a doubt. Everybody, we're all big on second chances, Myron. So give him a benefit of a doubt. See what happens. That was not, by the way, CM Punk was not the controversy. Then we came to Hangman Page, and we kind of quasi-agreed on Hangman Page. because I was like, hey, I could see him going, because I know at one point Triple H, back before All Elite Wrestling happened, Triple H kind of had a vision that Hangman Page could be like the face of NXT and could be a big deal in WWE, and I agree with that statement. You kind
Hangman
of
Page is like a hamburger with nothing else on it. Okay, he's good. He's good. You ever go to an indie show and get a hamburger with nothing on it? It's a good hamburger, but I think
he's at least a cheeseburger. I'm a much bigger fan of Page than you are. I admit that. I'm a much bigger fan.
Okay. Let's just get to the shitty meat of this argument.
The controversy occurred when we came to the Young Bucks, because your reaction was
no. Why would they want the Young Bucks? Why? No, hold on. We're just assuming that the Young Bucks will go to the WWE. There's all the other wrestling companies. They could go to Japan. They've been to Japan. Why would they go to the WWE? The WWE doesn't have any use for them. That would be the only reason they would do that, would be to show that they could buy the main guys and have 3 or 4, whatever you want to say, of the main guys, from the starting guys from all of Audrey Elite Wrestling, and showing off that they could do it. I don't think that's a concept Triple H is into. I don't think he needs to ground it. I don't think those two have anything the WWE wants. And on top of that, you were like, well, they'll sell a lot of merch.
That's exactly why.
Those fans will not buy merch from the WWE shop.
They'll
buy pro wrestling. I love pro wrestling tee stuff. I'm wearing pro wrestling tee stuff. I wear pro wrestling tee stuff. More of my clothes come from pro wrestling tees than anywhere, even the fat stores. Okay? Pro Wrestling Tees produces most of my clothes, but you cannot tell me that those Mark fans will go to WWEshop.com and even they would not buy anything from the WWEshop.com, even Young Bucks merchandise.
I disagree, and I'll tell you why I disagree, by the way. You are more generally surrounded by indie fans, correct?
Yes.
I was just surrounded by some diehard wrestling fans, and there's WWE shirts there. There's NWA shirts. There's everything.
Well, so I think fans.
They're wrestling fans. Real. So my point being, if the Young Bucks, I think listen. How many times have we said? And I'm not the biggest Young Bucks fan. I completely agree that I think they're overrated. Doesn't mean they're not good. I just think I think they're overrated. However, I am also, look, because, they're not targeted for me. I do think that there is a market that WWE could tap into, because, listen, there's a laundry list. A feud versus the New Day, if that ever, gets put back together. A feud with, the Brutes. A feud with the Usos. A feud, there's tag teams after tag teams that you can put them with that I think you can get some great matches at. You're not excited about it.
I want to see Walter smack the shit out of him. That's the only thing I'd want to see. Okay, I want to see him in a handicap match versus Walter Gunther. I forget. I have amnesia. Gunther beat the hell out of him. That's the only thing I would say.
Listen,
and then
you could get them versus Imperium, the tag team.
Dude, they're NXT talent at best.
Who?
Okay, the Bucks. They're not. They are by no means qualified. The Usos would run them out of the business.
Listen, I'm not saying I'm not a bigger fan of the Usos, because clearly I am, but that doesn't mean I wouldn't want to see it. And I think that's you're so jaded against them that I don't think you're seeing the value, because WWE sees dollar signs because they do see the merch. They see the shirts, they see the bands, they see the headbands, they see everything. They say, oh, we can sell all this merch to all of these guys. And listen, you would have said the same thing about the Rockers, but how much shit did they sell back in the day?
See, I would like to see FTR back, or whatever they're called, the Revival. But I don't know if their attitude is like a comeback thing. Are they so whatever they're into now over at All Elite that they can't come back?
I think they can. Indies? Here's my thing. I'll tell you this. This is the shock to a lot of people. FTR are more my cup of tea. They're more my speed of wrestling. And I think they're better wrestlers in general than the Bucks. It's just totally my opinion.
Yes.
But I don't think they sell as much as as much
No,
merch
they
and
don't
stuff
sell
as
as
the Bucks.
much merch.
So hence for the WWE, the Bucks are a bigger deal than FTR.
So if they go to WWE and they sell all this merch and they leave Pro Wrestling Tees and Pro Wrestling Tees falls upon hard times,
they're not gonna.
Our T-shirt sales will have to pick up and carry the balance of Pro Wrestling Tees, is what you're telling me.
I got a hard feeling they're going to lean on the crutch of one CM Punk at that point. That'll be their crutch that gets them through. By the way, Myron, to support Pro Wrestling Tees, don't forget later in the show, we will have the Pro Wrestling Tees shirt of the week. Yes. Great shirt this week, by the way. I'm
sale this week. It's a sale this week. Get on over there, 20% off.
I think it's through July 7th. You get 20% off. I believe that is correct. So check them out, and you can pick up one of ours, one of theirs, anybody's, my buddy.
I've had this shirt on in 6 different states, traveling all around. Durable, quality materials.
Last week, Myron, there was a tapped out shirt on my back in 3 states within a week. It was in Alabama, Florida, and Georgia, all in 1 week. So yeah,
Nixon, we've been traveling. I would have wished I would have been there for you at Top Guys weekend. Man, I was so jealous. I was at an 80th birthday party, and not drinking these days. It's
rough, isn't it?
Well, no, it's not worth not drinking. I don't have a problem not drinking, but being around a bunch of drunks sucks ass when you're not drinking.
Oh, 100%. Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
So while you brought it up real quick, I do want to say, thanks, shout out to a friend of the show, Rafe. I'm his plus one. I didn't even have to cuddle with him. But I was his plus one.
He looks like he'd be a good cuddler.
Actually, the funny thing is I bring that up because you were voted. You weren't even there, and we voted you probably best hugger out of the group because you were a little bit squishier. So we were like, Myron's probably the best.
Squish. Now I'm shrinking. I'm not Dave Wills shrinking. Has anybody seen Dave Wills? Because if you hadn't seen him, get a look now, because he's disappearing.
Yeah, he looked great. We had a great time with him at Top Guy weekend.
He looked the best Dave Wills can look. Let's just rephrase that.
Yeah, had a great time. Love seeing all the guys. Bunch of new friends, bunch of old friends, just hanging out. Conrad and him did a really good job. There was some cool stuff. I think, couple things. My highlight of the weekend, Connor Steakhouse, I will say won the weekend. A bunch of us went over there. We had reservations. We went over there on Saturday night, I believe. There was a lot of drinking. I believe it was Saturday night. And we had a great time. Look, that's it. What people don't realize is a lot of that stuff like us, WrestleK, Top Guy Weekend, Starcast maybe, we'll see. It's more about hanging out with our buddies and our friends than it is anything. The wrestling's kind of, funny. Mike was talking about it, and he was kind of like, hey, it's just the backdrop of us all hanging out. That's kind of the event. So, and that was cool. One of the wrestling related highlights of the weekend, there was a Top Guy tussle where they essentially had everybody come in, and you kind of got it to fantasy book a show, but they actually brought in 5 baby faces, 5 heels, and the crowd booked a show with the help of Kevin Sullivan, Eric Bischoff, David Crockett, and Jeff Jarrett and Ricky Morton. So it was a unique experience watching how their brains work, picking out matches and setting up a card and putting things in order, that kind of stuff. It was a cool concept and lots of guys showed out, by the way. Bryce Cannon, Cruel was there. Both stood out really big, I thought. Chip Day's phenomenal, which it was funny when we were looking at the posters and I'm like, just lots of guys just jumped off the page that's super talented. Corey Hollis was there, and I was kind of when they were planning things out, you kind of could see Corey Hollis as the wheels turning, which was kind of interesting to see. So, yeah, lots and lots of stuff, man. It was a great weekend. Conrad and him knocked it out of the park. Great job, and now we'll see what's next. Top Guy weekend for next year. Starcast coming up, WrestleCade's around the corner. Those kind of those trips in general, we just are big fans of. So, anyway,
yes, I just love going and I just meeting the wrestlers because Kevin Sullivan, I don't know, I'd still be scared as hell of him. He scared me all through my childhood, gave me nightmares and shit. So,
Good dude. Good dude. Yeah. If you're not, like, look, there's not many things that I don't. Top Guy weekend, dude. I mean, something that's about like chilling in the hotel bar and chatting with Eric Bischoff for a couple of minutes, sitting in the hotel lobby and chatting with Doug Dillinger for almost an hour. That was a blast. I mean,
I'm super jealous. I'm super jealous. And the thing for me is I don't care nothing about meeting politicians or movie stars or singers or anything like that. Those wrestling people, though, you talk about starstruck.
Yeah. So check them out, man. If it's something I do think you can look into if you're a big fan and you like those type of experiences, check out the top guy tier on ad-free shows. It's really cool. So, but Myron, let's jump into the meat of this week. Obviously, Money in the Bank went down on Saturday at 3:00 in the afternoon. It's like, those are going to get, and when I say they're going to take some time getting used to, the American fans better get used to it. The international, we're gonna come back to why, but like I said, I actually like it as an old man. I like it.
I do too. It was weird because I had to get up. Not had to. I got up and went to an indie show. We went to an indie show, so I came back and I got up this morning and watched actually the rest of it. But outside of going to shows, it's ideal timing for me. The 1 o'clock's almost even better.
Way better.
Because, let me go get my coffee. Because I'm not an early person on the whole. I can get up early, but I'm not an early person. I like my coffee, and if I can get a biscuit late, God, I'm the happiest man there is. And I sit down with some wrestling and just relax. And I know I ain't got to go nowhere, and it'll be done. By what time those things get done, you think? 7 o'clock? 6 o'clock?
Yeah, if it works, like 3 o'clock, it's usually over no later than 7. 1 o'clock, you're over by like 5 at the latest. I'm like, dude, I'm with you, man. I'm a fan. You know what? Let's go completely out of order. Fuck it. We're at this part. We're there. John Cena comes out at WrestleMania and basically teases the fact, like, hey, London, we should want to bring, we want to bring, WrestleMania to London, et cetera, et cetera. Look, by the way, as has been pointed out over the years, lots of obstacles. But let me tell you, folks, there ain't as many as there used to be. That's all I'm going to say. Because you're talking to a guy who we just pointed out. If you told me that WrestleMania was going to be Saturday and Sunday, and it was going to start at 3 o'clock and be over by 7:30, both nights, sign me up. I don't give a shit. I don't need that shit late, especially on Sunday. Think about that. Kids would be able to watch both, still be in bed in time. School's not going to be an issue.
Yep. It's ideal, man. It's ideal timing. And see, I live right next to a good Mexican restaurant. Actually, 2 Mexican restaurants. One's my favorite, though. So I could shut the old lady up about sitting and watching 3-4 hours of wrestling and take her to the Mexican restaurant. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
And have myself a nice dinner. Actually, there's 3 now that I think about. The other one's a little bit farther. But it's all kind of opportunities. Or I could cook out. I could grill out after the show. I could watch whatever I want. I could come down and catch a movie or watch some Star Wars or something and relax and then go to bed at a reasonable time. It's good timing for old and young. I liked leaving and going to an indie show after seeing some of it, and then being able to go to bed at a reasonable time when I got back and watch the rest of it. I can't. And it's a global world, and we have seen those fans go nuts.
I think
WWE's got it figured out.
Yeah, we talked about that. That I've been saying it for years. Like when certain crowds, when they would go there, they would go bananas. I think when we saw Cardiff, we saw Puerto Rico, we just saw Money in the Bank. I think they get it.
Saudi?
Saudi's a good crowd too. But those other crowds, man, when they're just on fire and they're hot like that, I'm like, listen, with all due respect to the American crowds, they're spoiled. They see them multiple times a year. And so they just are like, it's not a big deal when they come. So I'm like, listen, spread them out. They just don't get them as much. I've honestly made jokes before about, look, and I get it, by the way, this would completely suck for talent, by the way. I'm all for if WWE was like, hey, we're going to go take a month and we're going to go through Europe and do Raw, Smackdowns, and all that over in Europe for like a month. Talent's going to be gone. That would suck. It would really suck. Do live shows and stuff and hit through and then come back home, and then, but, whew. And look, would it be hot for business?
Shows, though. They used to do that with house shows. I think they still do already.
Well, they do some house shows and stuff when they go over there, but what I mean is like literally block out a month.
Do a tour, yeah.
Yeah, like a big tour.
But think about it. They're going to India. They've already got those, I guess it's Indy Sheer, is that the name of the tag team? That they're preparing for that. Because they put hometown guys on those shows. Bad Bunny for Puerto Rico. LWO for Puerto Rico. Butch was in the ladder match. You think Butch would have been in that ladder match had they been in America? No.
Right.
They worked this, what's his name? The guy in Saudi.
Mustafa Ali.
Mustafa Ali. I was going to call him Mahal for some reason. Was in there in Saudi. They always pick a guy who's going to be an automatic crowd favorite and put them prominently in somewhere in the show in order to give them a natural boost just in case. But the crowd loves it all.
Yeah. I think that London's biggest obstacle, though, is they're not a tourist town. Like, they don't need any more tourism. Let me back up. They're the number one tourist place over there in Europe.
Yes.
They don't need to pay for WrestleMania, which cities pay for in America.
Yes.
And so then that's what creates the problem. So if they've got to figure out the economics of it to make it work. But then let's be fair. It's also probably mentioned because AEW's running Wembley Stadium. And now, WWE's trying to say, well, we could come here and do WrestleMania and sell out Wembley Stadium 2 nights in a row, back to back.
I don't know. I don't think they'd go to Wembley. I think they'd go somewhere else, unless that's the only place big enough to hold them. I don't think they're as petty as that, but
I do. I don't even know, and it's not necessarily, I think, petty. I think it's like them saying, if you guys think one night sellout at Wembley's a big deal, we'll do 2. So you guys go out and you sell. You guys go out and sell your 75, whatever the number ends up being. We'll pull 150 in 2 nights or something. You know what I mean? Like, I think that's.
See, I that's one of those things, and I hate doing this, but I think we unfairly judge AEW a lot of times because they're going up against WWE, and WWE is Coke. Okay, WWE is to wrestling what Coke is to soft drinks. They're the established brand. AEW right now is like, let me think of another soda. It ain't gonna be Pepsi. Pepsi sucks. I wouldn't even compare it to Pepsi.
A lot of people like Pepsi. Dr. Pepper.
I don't care. I don't care. I don't care if anybody likes Pepsi. That sucks.
I said so Dr. Pepper,
Dr. Pepper's okay.
RC Cola.
RC Cola's good. You can't get it anywhere. Anyway, what's my point? You get what I'm saying. I ain't gonna pick another damn soda. I'm wasting my time here.
Yeah.
But WWE is the established brand, and it works. They're having to compete against the biggest thing in the world. They're an upstart company going up against the biggest brand in the world, and we're judging them versus the benchmark, versus the standard. When we say things like that, WWE is going to come over here and show them something. We can't judge them based on that, Nick. It's an unfair judgment. But they've been. Where did Vince do at this point in the company?
I don't really know as far as my take is. I think I don't think it's petty. I think it's just we can do this. We're going to show you what a big deal is. And I think 2 nights at Wembley, back to back for Mania, Yeah. Anyway. So, I think is it possible? Yes. Do I think the fans deserve it? Sure. Why not? Will it happen? Time will tell. What Phillies next year? I think like 2027. They've already kind of committed to Nashville for the new stadium they're building, the Titans. I heard, I think Minneapolis is in the running for one of the years in between there, 2025, 26. So maybe one of those 2 years, you know what I mean? Maybe one of those 2 years in between, you get it to London, and I'm all for it. Like I said,
well, they gave them a hell of a Money in the Bank show. You know, that was a great show yesterday. I enjoyed that immensely.
I need to look this up. Let's talk about the main event. Let's start there.
Ooh, not over yet. Not over yet. But it ain't looking good for the bloodline. Ooh. The biggest story in wrestling. The biggest storyline in wrestling, the bloodline.
Yeah, I wanted to get this number.
Okay.
And then I'm sorry, I wanted to find Roman Reigns was finally cleanly pinned by Jey Uso. It was the first time since December 15th, 2019. That was 1,294 days. By the way, do you know who the last person to pin him was?
Who's that?
Jey Uso.
Oh!
Full circle,
I did
baby.
not know that.
Yeah. So, but I think, like you said, I think the line of the night was Michael Cole saying the mystique of Roman Reigns is shattered.
Yes.
Because now he can be defeated. He can be beaten. And so now we're setting the table up just for that simple. Now, let me ask you. But, hey, I guess I didn't ask you. What'd you think of the match? I mean, I thought the match was good.
It's a good match. It's a good match. It wasn't about the match. I could give two shits about anything but the finish. Okay? I'll be honest with you. All I wanted to see was the finish. How it worked out, how it played out, how Paul was going to... And Paul really didn't have that big a part in it, which I was amazed. Where Solo was going to go. Solo stuck with Roman. What the Usos were going to do. Jimmy and Jay, how their relationship was going to work. And then Roman. We're going to see this Monday night. I have pretty much cleared my schedule for Monday and Friday night. Just cleared. Because I'm going to watch Raw and SmackDown. Because I'm going to pick up... Hell, I might watch NXT too.
Here's the thing. You're not going to get an answer on Raw. They're going to make you wait till SmackDown to hear what Roman has to say.
I know. And I'm going to fall for every damn bit of it.
Yeah.
3 hours, and they're going to get me. And I'm never going to be happier to sit there and watch 3 hours of television and not get a damn bit of information, except replays.
Now, I wanted to ask you this. This is something I wanted to talk about a little bit briefly. Cody in the post PLE press conference basically said the Seth Rollins world title is nice and he respects what Seth is doing, but to finish the story, he has to win the belt that his daddy never won, which is Roman's belt, the WWE Championship. Do you think we get there and he's the one who beats him? Because I have turned the page. I am now solidly convinced. Do you have Jey Uso be the guy who actually dethrones him at SummerSlam?
Jey Uso will be the guy that dethrones him at SummerSlam. They've been working on this for too long. Cody will get the belt eventually. Cody has to work himself through all of the lower level bosses. Who the final boss will be right now, I thought it would be Roman. It might be Jey. But it's going to be a family thing. Dominic was a big deal to beat Dominic. That's Ray's kid. That's another dynasty that Cody beat. Cody is going to work his way through these lower level bosses, probably is the wrong word for it, but he's going to work his way through these famous families, and he's going to get to where he's in the big match, and they're going to prop it, promote it. It's going to be great. But I am tired of these press conferences after shows. Okay, where the hell do I go to watch these? Nobody knows this stuff.
YouTube.
Your average kid doesn't know this stuff. YouTube, my ass. Okay,
it is, Myron. But that's where all the cool kids are watching stuff. Hey, Myron. What TV service do you have?
A YouTube TV. I'm gonna tell you though, Nick. I'm gonna tell you flat out, Dusty, your hero Dusty never did one of these press conferences on YouTube.
Because YouTube wasn't the thing when he wrestled.
Yes, he did it all on the show. The show.
By the way, tip of the cap to Triple H during the press conference. Ted Lasso nod during the press conference, and I was like, thumbs up, kid. Anyway, go ahead.
Y'all can have about Ted Lasso shit too.
Have you watched it?
No, I ain't never watched that.
Then you can't judge it.
I don't watch his wrestling and Star Wars, and I've been watching some Marvel lately too.
Yeah.
But because I know what's real, and I still am I've gone out of my way to relive my childhood and make it better. Because I'm doing that really well these days.
Yeah.
But back to our point. My point, I don't give a damn what you're saying right now. My point is, say that stuff on Monday on television. Don't say it on YouTube. Put it out there in front of TV where millions of people are watching it, where you don't have to go dig for it, where you've got advertisers. Those are promos. Those aren't press conferences. Those are promos. Well, you don't like Cody Rhodes' promos. You don't like Cody's promos because you have to judge them against every one of Dusty's promos.
That's not true.
Yes, it is.
I told you I don't judge Cody against his father because ain't nobody as good as his father, so there's no point in judging anybody against him. My point was I just said I don't like. By the way, I don't like anybody's promos where they repeat the same over and over. Like I honestly, it's gonna wear on me sooner than later. Let me talk to you. The LA Knight. That'll wear on me before too long. And that's okay. I love it. I love his cadence. I love his promos and stuff. Yeah. But I mean, that's catchphrase stuff. Cody, I just feel like here I get the suit concept. I think that's probably it's why Cody to me is probably a better heel than a babyface. I in my brain always Nick Bockwinkel, Ric Flair, Tully Blanchard. The guy who wears the suit is a little cocky, arrogant, thinks he's better than you. Yeah. MJF. They're a heel. The baby faces are got to be more relatable to the nth degree, and I think that's probably where there's a little bit of a disconnect with me. But guess what? It's the same thing I said about the Bucks and whatever. Like it's just a me thing. I'm not saying it's a him thing. It's a me thing. Okay. So the disconnect's with me. And so, yeah, he's not my favorite, but it's also why I'm probably thinking I'm connected to the Jey Uso story more than I am to the Cody story of winning the belt. And I love his father. I wish he would win it for his father. I get it, but get me invested in that story. Be the common man. That was why Dusty was listen, and I'm saying this as a fat common man guy. That's why I connected with Dusty, right? He was just a common man. But Cody looks like a suited champion. Like okay, so he's a bad guy. It's just a take, whatever. I'd rather see Jey Uso at this point be the one who's dethroned, because now he's the last guy to pin him. He was the last guy to pin him before the streak started. And it's just, at some point, it's always like if there's the king should always be dethroned by. Now, the only twist I would put in here is could Jay cost against Damian Priest cashing in a post-match on something, down the road? Because is that how you elevate Damian Priest to the top, by having him be the one to dethrone? I personally think it's probably Seth Rollins is who he cashes in on if it were me. That just makes more sense.
Makes sense.
Now I ask you, Roman's clearly going down sooner than later at this point, right? Because we hear the grumblings of, hey, that they want this bloodline story to kind of conclude and like start wrapping up. If those things are true, do you want to make somebody, or does it need to be somebody who's already made that is the one who ends the streak?
That's a tough one. I don't know if it's a make somebody or a elevate somebody. I think it's probably a give it to an Uso, let him run for a little bit, and then dethrone him.
Here's why Nick said, by the way, and this is why I asked you this question. There's Bischoff and Bruce have a saying that, and Jeff Jarrett says it a lot too. Then what? The problem with Jey Uso winning it is I have a harder time with the then what than I do with Cody.
Yes.
That's what makes more sense in my brain, saying Cody, because the then what to me is easier to go with after than if Jey wins it, you're like, okay, well then who's the next guy? Like if we end it with Roman and Roman goes away for months, then who? Is it Solo? Like, does Solo not join them? Or, like, I think for that clean break, for if Jey were to do it, Solo turns his back on Roman, they isolate him off, those three brothers become a unit again, but then it's like, okay, but then what? You have a babyface who's naturally a tag team wrestler. He's in a group with three, it's him and two other guys, but they're baby faces, so are they really going to cheat to win? Like, it just gets, to me, it gets a little muddled. With Cody,
I agree.
He's the face of your company at that point. He's the suit. He's the champion. Whether I like that presentation or not, okay, whatever. It is what it is. He's the Ric Flair baby face at that point, in my opinion.
Yeah. I get that. Maybe it's time for him to run out there in a pair of jeans and cowboy boots and, do the old dusty bit. Maybe that's what he's got coming. I don't know. Maybe it's time there's a beat down somewhere in there. I don't know. Is he connecting? Go ahead.
Paul Heyman turns on Roman and joins Cody, and Cody goes heel. Then we get asshole.
Too soon.
Why? It'll almost be 2 years. If it goes to Mania, if it loops all the way back to Mania, it'll be 2-year babyface Cody before he went heel. And there's your story then. Because then you go, then what is, now you've got asshole Cody and you've got the heel champion. Because you would segue from a heel to a heel champion because Paul moves over with him. And by the way, I like the way Paul talks.
I would take Paul with anybody. Paul is, you could put Paul with a loaf of bread and Paul could make that guy a loaf of bread champion. Paul, because Roman didn't say shit for how long? Everybody criticized Roman. When did people stop criticizing Roman as, well, he don't talk, he don't wrestle?
Here's the thing. He talked, he just wasn't saying anything.
No.
So all that's the difference, yeah.
Paul got with him.
Yeah.
He turned into the best there was.
I agree. Look, we'll have more of it to follow up. We got to see what happens on SmackDown. Where are they going? Look, I just want to see where is SummerSlam going. Like, are we getting, if we're getting Jey, are we heading down for Jey being the guy who dethrones him or, or something? Because I don't know. There's no other bigger pay-per-views until you get to Survivor Series that you would warrant Roman dropping the belt at. You would think if it wasn't Mania, it's SummerSlam. So how do you get Cody in there if it's Cody? I think that's where time will tell. But look, we addressed Damian Priest. He wins the men's. Listen, I agree. There was something I saw on social media, which I try to avoid like the plague sometimes, was that a lot of people were angry that LA Knight didn't win. Triple H in the press conference saying, like, kind of the same thing he's been saying on a lot of things. Can we let the story play out? Like, the story's not over.
Storyline.
Yeah.
Now you're pissed off that he didn't win, so you're going to tune in.
But
if they give you what you want, you're not going to tune in as often.
if you're angry that the heel won and not your guy, that's one thing. But if you're pretending like Damian Priest, Punishment Martinez, didn't deserve, being like, hey, he didn't earn a win, because I don't know, he didn't he work a guy called Bad Bunny at Puerto Rico?
Didn't he team with a guy named Bad Bunny
before? Look, he's been the team player. He's done that. And a lot of guys get rewarded for being team players. And by the way, the size, the look, the talent. You can't tell me the guy's not a champion. We've talked about that in the past.
We met him. Well, we didn't meet him. I stood near him that time over at the original night when it was just the Power Factory. Dude's huge.
Yeah,
scary looking, big old scary looking guy.
Champion of a man.
Intimidating.
Yeah,
and he got his beard. I wish I could cut my beard. I can hardly cut this damn thing at all. Okay, I worked on it. One end's uneven, and it's all. Oh, look, Jeff Mooney. I didn't like Jeff Mooney style. You saw the Blue Mooney the other day too. And he's got every line on his beard perfect. He looks like a bad guy.
Yeah.
Okay, he looks like an evil guy. And he's huge. Perfect bad guy to get a belt.
Here's the crazy thing. I'm still not putting up passing for him to cash in and go baby on Roman. That would be something that would make Damian Priest.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So I don't think that's what we get, but I wouldn't put it past him.
I think, but I don't know. I think about Seth though. I think Seth might be the biggest baby in the company. Like it or not, he's loved.
Yeah, I could see that.
He is loved.
Yeah. Lots of that's the thing there, man. They're really hot right now with Sammy, Kevin, with LA Knights picking up the steam. Lots of guys at the top, which is good. It's a good problem for them to have. I think they're clicking on all cylinders right now. Look, Io Sky, she wins the women. That one was different. That was a great ending to that match.
Fish hooking Bailey with the handcuffs. God almighty, Becky Lynch getting bad. Yeah. She getting mean.
But then Io handcuffing the two of them was just brilliant.
Handcuffing her team partner.
We're going to see where that's going. Speaking of team partners, Shayna Baszler. Look, we're not going to address it a lot because I don't know what happened.
I don't know, but it looked bad.
Yeah, it looked bad. Like she had enough of playing second fiddle to Ronda Rousey. That one, check out on Raw or wherever the hell show they're on now. At this point and see what happens.
Beginning to be a big fan of that the women's tag team champions.
Yeah,
I think they're good. I think the new ones, but they were ones. So
Liv and Raquel,
yes, Raquel is she's really going to take off well. I think.
Yeah, she's got a look that's gonna be good. Yeah,
she's got the look. She's got the tools.
Yeah,
and putting her with Liv, who is super popular.
Yeah,
is good for her. So I think that's going to be a good team in the long run.
Anything else on Money in the Bank we want to guess before we push off and go on to the next?
I love the way they beat the hell out of Logan Paul altogether. Yeah. I love that. They gave the fans what they wanted. We put him in there, blah, blah, blah. Gunther.
Oh, yeah.
Gunther is a guy from my childhood. Gunther is the Lord Humongous. Gunther is Ron Fuller. Gunther could exist in any timeline of wrestling.
Mm-hmm.
He's an evil, and he's got the haircut for it too. And I'm going to mention haircuts in professional wrestling later on. But Gunther's got the haircut that looks like a heel.
Yep. And with Drew returning, I clearly think that's what we get at SummerSlam.
Mm-hmm.
And if he doesn't get his contract renegotiated, that's going to be Drew's parting gift from WWE, I think. Is one good old ass whooping from Gunther at SummerSlam. So, now, look, we kind of did a little AEW at the beginning. We would be remiss if we not talked. Obviously, because here's the thing. We missed Collision because we watched Money in the Bank. Then we like before it was even over, we had to bail out and we went to Southern Fried, which we're going to talk about next. But we went to Southern Fried, so we missed Collision. But I think that's the point of the dangers of Saturday night. If you're a wrestling fan, the danger of having a show on there is like, me and you personally, would rather go to an indie show, than watch something on TV because we can come back and watch it later if we want to. If anything on social media warranted that we should go watch it, that, then we can come back and watch it. If not, you're like, meh. But the ratings came in, and look, we talk about like, hey, we talked about, hey, that you picked a great number for week 1. I picked a not so great number. Problem is my not so great number seems to be where they're going to live. So they were 800 and something thousand down to like 569. I'm curious to see what they are this week. As of recording, we did not have the numbers. I think you're right. I think they probably hang in that I think they stay in the 500,000 range.
What was the WCW Saturday night show?
Which they just had the mothership of the Saturday night. It was just WCW Saturday night.
Yeah,
that 605 show. But
outside of the show you watched as a kid, has any wrestling? That was what? How many hours of wrestling?
Oh, you're talking about that block, the Superstars of Wrestling block that came on. Yeah, the 8 hours or 7-8 hours, or whatever the hell it was back in the day.
Has anybody ever been able to block out and do good on Saturday night?
Well, listen, the only reason it is because we were doing it when we were like 13. We couldn't really go anywhere. And by the way, that's not the target demo for that demo. They're watching WWE mostly. The target demo AEW is targeting, those people are going out, or should, or maybe are going out. Okay, well, they should be.
They're choking about Audrey Edwards.
And so we'll see. I think they stay in that 500 range at least. I hope. I hope they do well. I hope they can build and build and build and build and head in the right direction. Saturday show, I did watch some of it this morning. I did zip through a lot of it. Not even gonna lie. There was some good. There was some bad. There was some ugly, as always. But that's AEW. Look, but that's WWE too. There's some good, there's some bad, and there's some ugly. We talked about Raw and Smackdown this past week. You said you watched Smackdown in 40 minutes or something. 40.
Yeah, Smackdown took me about 40 minutes to get through. I was doing a bunch of stuff, and I watched Secret Invasion, which I thought was pretty good. When does this week's episode come out?
I think they come out on Wednesdays. I could be wrong. Wednesdays and Thursdays,
I'm a binger. I wish they'd just release the whole damn thing at once. But I don't have the attention span for weekly shows.
They got to keep your subscription, man. They don't want you to just binge and drop.
I know, but you know me. I'll keep the damn subscription because I'll forget to.
I pay it by the year, so it's not like it's going anywhere. So.
Yeah, you always figure out how to get a better deal on it. I'm not that smart, but it was in England. They made the crowd happy. It was an okay show. You got Charlotte and Asuka, which was good until Bianca Belair interrupted. Whatever.
Yeah.
Whatever.
That's a heel turn waiting to happen. It's got to be at this point.
Oh,
repackage, heel turn, boom. I just think that's a whole.
Cut the damn hair off. Jesus Christ, that gimmick has.
Listen, it's just I think that like we've talked about in the past, I think it's just run its course. Yeah. The happy-go-lucky, she's happy to be here, inspirational.
You have to turn her husband too. And his tag team partner. That's the shitty thing about breaking kayfabe. You have to turn. If you turn her heel, she's the big deal out of the three of them. You have to turn the whole group.
We may have to cut a separate indie thing because I'm going to ask you a question. We haven't even talked about this, and I heard this, and I cannot believe I didn't have this conversation with you. Jungle Boy Jack Perry on Dynamite comes out and cuts a promo. Bully asked a legitimate question, and I'm going to ask you about it. He made the comment. We're not going to spend a lot of time. I do want to talk about the indie stuff. I was kidding about that. In the promo, Jack Perry says he's banging the hottest bitch in professional wrestling. That's like he was like, he's got a fancy cars, blah, 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 and he's banging the hottest bitch in pro wrestling. Bully's question was, so we're calling women bitches now in AEW. And they were all like, oh, well, I was thinking because he was a heel. He was saying, he goes, yeah. He goes, but my point being, if that was a WWE talent that said that on TV, he goes, social media justice warriors would be raking them over the coals about calling them that. And they're like, well, and then the Greca comes back and says, well, you couldn't get away with that in WWE. And he goes, that's a whole other conversation in itself, because you're right. They wouldn't be allowed to get away with it on WWE TV. Why not? Because you probably shouldn't be. And he goes, look, and this is coming from a guy who he told a girl in the crowd, they were talking about Mama teaching her how to suck dick in a promo when he was working the crowd at an ECW show. This is Bully Ray. And he goes, he was like, but you guys always talk about different time, different, you can't do that anymore. You couldn't get away with that. And he's like, so if you can't, you can't.
Oh.
He goes,
oh. So you're saying he was saying it was all hypocrites wrestling.
No, literally the question would be, if you had, what do we always say? If you would have had a problem in WWE with it, then you should have a problem with it in AEW. If you do not have a problem with it in AEW, then you probably need to remember that the next time something like that happens in WWE.
Well, WWE ain't going to say that. You know why?
Right.
Because they make money. They're concerned about. They're not concerned.
They're not. I mean, like,
their advertisers aren't going to put up with saying bitch.
Now, like, Tommy Dreamer did bring up a point. He was like, he was trying to remember. By the way, he couldn't remember who he was with.
I don't know either. Who's the bitch?
He's with Anna Jay. I think he's with Anna Jay now.
Anna Jay.
Yeah. It used to be.
I've met her.
Okay.
I've met her before.
Yeah.
I mean, I can't argue with him.
But here's the thing, though. That was
I
the
wouldn't
point.
call her a bitch, so she's very nice.
Correct, and so Tommy's thing was like, well, Tommy was like,
you shouldn't call women bitches. By the way, you shouldn't call women bitches.
Yeah, correct.
Especially
Tommy tried to defend it. Like, he was trying to remember, was there somebody like Ronda Rousey called herself the baddest bitch on the planet?
Yes.
So if and he's not, obviously, but like, if Jungle Boy was kind of like, he was like, oh, is Jungle Boy dating somebody who calls herself the hottest bitch in pro wrestling? He's like, oh no, that's not her gimmick. You know what I mean? But so he was kind of like, if he was saying her gimmick name, that would be, something to be like, oh, okay, that makes sense. It did not, because it did not. No, I agree with that. I really do. Listen, if Tommy,
how many daughters do you have?
No, Myron, hear me out. If you were, we're going to stretch reality here. Now let's just say if Ronda Rousey's husband was a wrestler and he was cutting a promo and he said, my wife's the baddest bitch on the planet, you'd kind of let it slide because that's what she calls herself.
Yeah.
But that was kind of his point. He goes, LaGreca was kind of like, yeah, you're probably right. If I said that and I walked through the curtain and my wife was standing there, she's probably punching me in the face.
My wife would punch me right in the dick. I'm sorry.
Anyway, so
I mean,
I would love to know.
I don't personally, I don't refer to women as bitches. I've been sitting here joking. Okay. I have a daughter. You have 3 daughters.
Yeah.
I've taught my son not to say things like that. I don't refer to people like that unless they are bitches. I don't use the word bitch as a derogatory term for women. I use it mainly for men, or people who are bitching at me. I don't get the fact that they would use that on a TV show for somebody who claims to be different than WWE. Because, actually, WWE doesn't use stuff like that anymore.
I just want to know thoughts. I mean, like I said, I don't know what they were going to do.
I'm uncomfortable. Yeah. I'm uncomfortable saying about it.
I can tell.
I sound like I'm always the biggest anti-AEW guy on TV, or not on TV, shit, on YouTube and podcasting. But I also, I would come down on them even harder about this. But if Bully Ray's coming down on, I mean,
he was just shedding a light. I'd love to know what everybody thinks. tappedoutpod@gmail.com. Let's move into some more pleasant things.
Let's move
into some more
stuff.
So
I saw a wonderful. So what do you want to talk about?
Well, first, our favorite segment of the week. Let's go ahead and jump into the Pro Wrestling Tees shirt of the week this week. Look, super cool. I know the guy. We love the guy. I did not realize that the dude had 10 shirts on Pro Wrestling Tees.
I bought one of his shirts off there.
Yeah. This week's Pro Wrestling Tees segment is Sunny Days. I'm a massive fan of the Funko Pop shirt. That's the one that I've got showing up. But he does have 10 shirts available on Pro Wrestling Tees. And yes, this week until July 7th, you can get 20% off on the website. So go check them out. Grab a couple Sunny Days shirts. Hey, look, add on one or two of ours. You know, look, it'll be in the show notes. The link to his store will be in the show notes. Click on that. Go grab 1, 2, 3, heck, all 10 of them. Take your 20% off. Sunny Days, the Pro Wrestling Tees shirt of the week. Now, Myron, look, he came to mind because we were at Southern Fried last night, prior, obviously, to recording. And we saw he needed a partner to defend the Southern Fried Tag Team Championships. And who else? None other than, I thought that guy was retired, Todd Sexton.
He looked awful good for retired.
Yeah.
I tell you, he was in awful good shape to be retired.
Yeah, still slinging those kicks, still being able to work, getting out there showing off that skill. But we were reminded he's still retired.
Yes, still retired.
Yeah,
still retired. Look great, but for retired.
Todd Sexton retired. One half of your Southern Fried Tag Team Champions, but he's retired
for now.
No, he's retired. Yeah. Until somebody dethrones him.
I really wanted to see a comeback, but he's retired.
Yeah, exactly. Spectacular show. Crowd was crazy. It was awesome. Look, I took my uncle, who's not really a big wrestling guy, but he was like, hey, he was in. By the time he was hollering stuff out, which is always fun to see.
Oh, hell yeah. Oh, hell yeah.
What was your highlights of the night, Ben, before you get to
I loved the show. I had so much fun with the grapplers and exotic youth. Okay. Mm-hmm. I had so much fun. I love the exotic youth and I love the grapplers. Seeing the grapplers as baby faces, though, I've always thought that would be odd, but they hit everything. The youth are such good heels. Speaking of hair for heels, they got that stuff perfect. There's more to it than just how you it's how you present yourself, not just how you wrestle. They hit every convention and every single thing you can do in old school wrestling for tag teams, from switching in and out for the grapplers to the eye pokes to the run under. I just had so much. That's the most fun I've had with a match in forever. I enjoyed that. I could not have enjoyed that more. I was amazed by Alex Keitel's showing against Nick Halen. I thought he is clearly one of the most improved wrestlers in Georgia, if not the most improved. Nick Halen is a phenomenal tactician and a wonderful wrestler. And Keitel really looked wonderful against him. I don't know whose version of Tom Sawyer, Rush's Tom Sawyer, he came out to. If you hear this, Alec, tell me. Alex, I don't know. God, my daughter's last boyfriend's name was Alec, and I don't know. I hated that bastard. Alex is a very nice young man. Great match. I enjoyed that a lot. The women's match, mainly drama. They've added more stuff into the women's division, which is great. You always like to see a good, strong women's division going on. Gauntlet match, extremely entertaining. Jacob Ashworth, always super over. Hunter.
Pause.
Yes.
This is the one I was waiting for. Hunter James. We've said for the better part of 6 months to a year, watching him, basically he had the rocket on his back.
Yes.
No matter how big of a prick he is, kid's super talented. Yes. Last night proved it. It's phenomenal talent. The problem is when you skyrocket and you're shooting with that rocket tied to your back, eventually you're going to get to the top tier, and there's a guy like Michael Judas standing across the ring from you, and then it's time to go from you're the wonderkin to it's time to do some man shit now. You got to fight.
God,
you got to fight some big ass grown men who are gonna, they're gonna pull. They ain't playing no more.
Could Judas not look better as a champion? Could he not be more champion-like? Champion at Southern Honor. He is the champion of Georgia. If Georgia just had a champion for the whole state, it'd be Michael Judas. He looks like a champion. He talks like a champion. He walks like a champion. He is the champion. You don't have a problem putting your belt on Michael Judas. He's the representative for your company, and he's a damn good representative for your company.
He also don't mind taking your title and putting it on. You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
Yeah. So that's the thing.
Yeah. But I can't. One thing I gotta keep talking about Hunter. He comes out and he's got that gold, whatever you call that, Roman crown on, and Tristan, his manager, they both got heel hair. Okay, Hunter has that hateable hair, and Tristan's got that manager hair. I don't even want to go. I ain't got no hair, but they make people hate them by the way they look instantaneously. Okay, that's one of those aesthetic things that heels do. Dr. Brock and Tristan working together, it makes people hate them, hate their wrestlers. So good. Najicism. If you have not seen this guy wrestle, you got to see this guy wrestle. He's amazing. Also, he does all kind of technical stuff too, like work outside of wrestling. I've been fascinated. God, that was fun. I had so much fun at the show. This is $15 of WWE level entertainment. You can't get a better $15 value.
And it was funny because I had the conversation when we got back home. My uncle and I watched the main event. That we actually stayed up last night and watched the Bloodline Civil War match and talked about the Southern Fried Show. Because again, the best thing you can do is sometimes ask people who are not wrestling people what they thought, and they will kind of enlighten you as to what you've gotten so far into the weeds you can't see anymore, and that people outside are like, and like to say like very entertained, very like, oh this oh this guy, like he was, oh I hated him, which obviously means he was doing his job. You're like, exactly. Super impressed. Look, nobody gets heat like Exotic Youth, right? That's what we always talk about. Those guys are you just want to punch them. That's just it. You just want to punch them. Yep. Again, I agree with you. Judas is the champion right now of Georgia. Mm-hmm. Just is. I think he's got a contender who we'll talk about in a minute. But I think him versus Hunter is something that we've talked about a little bit about pre-recording about the Vince logic of let's give them a taste and see what we have, and then we know where we're heading down the road. I think this is what this is. Kid's very good. Not sure he's ready to conquer this mountain yet.
Man, I don't know. I don't cheer or jump up, yell or clap. I watch. Okay. I'm not pointing. I just sit there and watch. And during Judas's speech, I saw Todd had come around. It was peering in the door on the other side, watching to see how people reacted to Judas's speech. Okay. Todd's watching all this stuff. He knows how things are going down. I also observed the fact that the Exotic Youth have basically snap-on toolboxes, those big ones full of merch to sell. And when they're not at their merch tables, their girlfriends run them. When they are at their merch tables, they're selling the hell out of stuff. And then nobody's there. They're watching the matches, learning stuff. Learning not only what works, what the crowd likes. Very keen observers. All-Star Special and them should have a merch off to sell who can sell the most merch at a match and compare merch strategy. That's one thing. Also, the craziest thing I noticed, Nick, now you did notice something really wild. You noticed one of the old WCW executives was there at the show.
Yeah.
We don't have to identify him.
I'm going to verify. I did recognize him, and I recognized him only because most people would not know who this person was. It just happened to be he was on a panel at the Top Guy weekend, so I recognized him from that event and was like, "Holy crap, that is!" And I'm not going to say his name until I talked to him in person. That'll be down the road, but it was kind of cool. I'm hoping.
What's that?
Go ahead. No, go ahead.
I noticed David Manders is one of the hardest working people I've ever seen. That man did not sit still the whole damn show. Okay? He was from the back to the concession stand to checking on the fans running around. Right there convinced me I could never own a wrestling show. Okay? We ran one show and it damn near killed me. Okay? I had to go on more blood pressure medicine after that show and then have to have my heart shot. But watching David do that, I would have died just trying to keep up with that. I have to give that man kudos. Hands-on management of that show. Out with all the fans, interacted. Messaged me last night late to make sure that he said, I'm glad y'all guys came out. What did you think of the show? You can't ask for better ownership of a product than that.
Yeah, good. Great show, top to bottom. Like I said, anytime, if it's like I said, you get a non-person wrestling who gives it, the respect and the love and everything. It's like, oh, it was a great show. It was fun. I'm like, okay, that's good. That's what you want. That is what you want. We are going to, by the way, this weekend, this Friday, we will be at Southern Honor back in Canton, Georgia. And I pulled this poster up. By the way, that merch off that you were talking about could happen because the Exotic Youth will be facing off against the All-Star Special and Cyrus. So we might get that face off, that little merch off that you're talking about. I'm looking at the card. When you were talking about like a lot of new faces. Cabana Bandan, by the way, I saw him at the Top Guy weekend perform. I've seen him work before. Super talented guy. But he's going to be against Movie Mike. Danny Jordan versus Jada Stone. Easy for me to say.
I don't know her. I don't know the Jada Stone. I know Danny Jordan. She's one of my favorites.
Oh, yeah. Hands down. I think the Hierarchy will be defending the tag titles that they won at the last show. Look, Kevin Ryan, man, coming back. That's what's crazy, man.
I don't know what a Nakudo Death Society is.
Well, that's because well, you're going to find out.
I don't listen to that kind of music.
I think your match of the night, as far as two guys getting in there and probably putting it, it's cool. It's going to be tough. I'm looking at the card. I would say Chip Day and Kenway. That one's going to be the big,
picking match of this night. It ain't gonna be easy because there's some damn killers on this card.
Yeah. By the way, that is for the Jake Roberts Championship, the Legacy title. Chip Day, gotta be right. Look, everybody can love Kenway all you want. That's great, but I think, like him or not, Chip Day is probably still the guy that I would put belts on left and right here. Owen Knight versus Shoot Taylor. That's going to be probably your competition for match of the night as far as the in-ring stuff. We already talked about the Exotic Youth versus the All-Star Special and Cyrus. Look, I love EY at times, but they're going to get crushed. Cyrus, just kill everybody, right?
I'm a huge Cyrus fan.
I'm going to get to the last thing in a minute, but I want to talk about the main event. Gunnar Miller, Corey Hollis versus, they're calling themselves the End Game, which is Judas, we just talked about, and Nick Halen with Todd Sexton. That right there is arguably 4 of the best talents in Georgia in one match.
Yeah. And Todd Sexton.
And Todd Sexton's going to be outside the ring, correct.
Who just unretired.
Yeah.
So, and he's not popular at Southern Honor. He's very popular at Southern Pride. Not popular at Southern Honor.
Go back. I gave a speech. Was it last week? No, the week before, about Todd Sexton and the two worlds that he runs in Southern Pride and Southern Honor. Kind of giving you my explanation as to why I think that
he's like Mr. Spock.
I just think he's misunderstood. But that's a whole.
He draws a mustache on before he goes to Southern Honor, like Mr. Spock did.
So
on that episode.
Last but not least, this is why I saved this for last. Cruel's going to be in action. He teamed and he subsequently turned on Sunny Days, to lose the Southern Honor titles to the hierarchy. So it's like, okay, so what now for Cruel? Here's what my answer is. Whatever the fuck Cruel wants next. I've said this, and I've said it time, and I've said it time again. Cruel should be. By the way, I think that was a great opportunity at Top Guy weekend. I think Cruel should be in NXT. I think Cruel should be in AEW. To this day, somebody was arguing, and I had this conversation with somebody. Cruel should be standing face to face with Luchasaurus in AEW, as that should be his opponent. Because I mean, when I see Luchasaurus in general, like, I think it's as a monster. What has he really done? Even with Christian, I always feel like he's basically being Christian's crutch. Like, let him do some big boy shit, but he needs to be in there with another big, with another big dude. And I think Cruel's that guy.
I think he's too good for that Audrey Elite Wrestling. I think he should be in NXT. I really do. Look at it. They've got the 3 biggest guys in wrestling anywhere. Cruel, Cyrus, Judas. Oh, seriously. I've never seen those guys on the same card. Never seen those guys on the same card.
That's a lot.
And where's Sunny Days? Where's Sunny Days?
Cruel probably put him out to pasture at Southern Honor for a little while, maybe. But listen, by the way, before we get out of here, if Cruel's back, I have a gut feeling Cruel's not real happy how things ended with that world championship of his. I think there's probably some unfinished business there. We'll leave that for another show when we get down to. But I think this guy still potentially. We were talking about, is Judas does Judas have the most impact across the state right now? Or is it Cruel?
Right now, yes.
Cruel missed a substantial period of time in the beginning. That was our concern. Is it a 2-horse race? Is it a 3? If you were trying to say, like, who's the most impactful wrestler right now in Georgia, who is it? tappedoutpod@gmail.com. That's what I want to know. Who do you guys think that is right now? So, anyway. Anything else, Myron? I know you look like you got something you were.
No, I'm just damn worn out.
Yeah.
I got to find I hope I got an inhaler down here somewhere. Ooh, I've lost my breath.
Yeah. Well, listen, you're not going to lose your breath. If you just take a hit, Myron, I don't want you to lose your breath because now I'm about to give a whole lot of information. Over on our YouTube channel at youtube.com, Tapped Out Wrestling Podcast, Tapped Out Podcast Network, search for it. We always tell you, we appreciate all of the signups, like the page, subscribe, turn your notifications on, become a member, get the extras. The Midnight Riders just constantly sending in those stories. Hey, Byron, let me ask you a question.
Yes.
Hold that thought. Because, look, not everybody, we are fully aware. Before I get to the podcast part, I do want to ask you a poem. Somebody sent in a poem. The Midnight Rider sent in a poem, and we published a poem on our thing. Who would have ever thunk it, right?
I never thought poems were going to be on down.
No,
that's crazy.
YouTube and on Patreon, all of that stuff. But look, we are fully aware, by the way, that some people still are the old school, listen on the podcast, whether it be Apple Podcast, Google Podcast, Spotify, Amazon Music, all that great stuff. We appreciate all those 5-star ratings and reviews as well. Hey, look, we would be remiss. We also tell you, because when we're talking about podcast, Myron, look, we have had our home for our podcast at Lipson since essentially day one. We took us.
Well.
Hold on.
We spent about a month somewhere else, and it sucked ass.
Right.
And we came right back.
Exactly.
It was horrible. It would. Oh, I can't even compare it to anything else. It was the worst time I've ever had in podcasting.
Yeah.
It was like oh no. I would have rather smacked my dick in a screen door. Oh no. Lipson is by far the best. It's so easy to upload stuff. It's so easy to work with. Nick went out of town one time and I had to run everything. Beautiful. Yeah. Such an easy service to work with.
Absolutely. So if you're wanting all the tools, you're wanting to be everywhere. We talk about it. We're, Amazon, we're on Apple, we're Spotify, all those places. You want to make your stuff super simple to upload. Everything's really easy. Go to Libsyn.com, use the promo code TAPPED. That is TAPPED, like us, TAPPED. Use that, and they will give you up to 2 months free for signing up over at Libsyn.com and using the promo code TAPPED. We appreciate that more than anything, man. Always support our sponsors. Helps us kind of keep the thing going and all that good stuff. Anything else for you, Myron, before we get out of here?
I'm telling you, folks, if you ever wanted to start a podcast, you ever thought about starting a podcast, those are the people you need to deal with. It's the only people we'll ever deal with again. So look into it. I did have an advertising campaign for someone else I had planned. It was we were going to have a contest to see who could win the contest, and they would shave Mooney down with the Manscaped people. It was called Shave Mooney Down. I don't know what the contest is going to be yet, or if that would be the loser of the contest. But he needs a good shaving down.
That he does.
Yes.
I agree with you. Well, man, I appreciate you, joining me this week, man. It's always fun. We went way longer than normal.
I had a lot of fun, though.
Absolutely, man. Anything else before we get out of here?
Nope. I'm done.
Well, what's the old saying, brother? If I've got nothing and you've got nothing, what time is it?
Time to tap out.